Today's story is Two Little Boys, 10 Big Plagues, written by Carol Craven Bates and illustrated by Jan Church Hopkins. If you would like a copy of this book, there's a link for it in the description. Chapter 7. Quite a few animals had died during the last plague of Murrain. Meeko was thankful his steer had survived. Now he was kept busy trying to nurse it back to good health. Meeko had not seen his friend since Jalen had volunteered to sit with the animals the day after the plague struck. Mrs. Grossman didn't feel comfortable with Jalen being across town in the Egyptian neighborhood, so he was asked to stay close to home. Jalen occupied himself by doing his chores and grooming his lamb. One pretty sunny morning, Jalen was especially lonely. He finished his morning chores and then just sat down on the back step. Mrs. Grossman watched her son. He had his head down, drawing in the sand with a stick. Her heart went out to the boy. Opening the back door, Leah suggested, "Son, how about if you go see Meeko today? Maybe he can go fishing with you. It will be good for both of you to get together and have some fun." Jalen thought that was an excellent idea. He jumped up and gave his mother a big hug before racing to the stable for his cane pole. In a matter of a few seconds, Jalen was eagerly on his way to the home of his friend. Unbeknownst to Jalen or his mother, God had sent another plague that very day. Moses had sprinkled furnace ashes toward heaven. As a result, boils broke out on man and beast alike. Since the plagues no longer affected the land of Goshen, the Hebrew people had no idea the latest plague had begun. Excited and out of breath, Jalen arrived at the pariah home. Eagerly, he knocked several times. Jalen thought it strange that no one was stirring. It was late morning, closer to lunchtime actually, and yet it seemed that the entire family was still in bed. When Meeko finally came to the door, Jalen was shocked at what he saw. He knew it was his friend Meeko, but Jalen could hardly recognize him. Meeko had boils all over his face and body. He had several boils on his lips as well and could hardly speak through the tears. Meeko was in so much pain he had to talk without moving his lips. It was really hard for Jalen to comprehend what Meeko was saying, but finally he understood. The whole family was covered with painful boils. They even had boils on the top of their heads and the soles of their feet. Meeko told Jalen he was glad he had come by and asked his friend if he would feed the steer and the one horse his dad had left. When Jalen got to the animal shelter, he was in for another shock. Even the steer and the horse were covered with boils. Both animals had lost a lot of weight. The horse looked like a baggy bundle of bones, and the steer was no longer of blue ribbon quality. Jalen fed and watered the animals, although they hadn't eaten what they had last been given. After cleaning up in the stable, Jalen headed for home. Leah was surprised to see her son back so soon. After Jalen told his mother what had happened to his friend, she sent him back to the pariah home with homemade bread and chicken soup for the family. Ishka thanked Jalen again and again for the food. Before Jalen left their home for the second time, Ramar Pariah asked him if he would turn the horse and the steer out into the pasture so they could fend for themselves. Jalen didn't have the heart to tell Mr. Pariah the condition the animals were in. He simply did as he was asked. Jalen led the animals out to graze. Jalen left the home of his friend that day with feelings of great sorrow. It made him sad to see Meeko and his family suffering so. Jalen silently wished Pharaoh would stop hardening his heart so the plagues would stop.